Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing The Bullet That Missed, written by Richard Osman. It's the third book in the Thursday Murder Club series. It's a cozy mystery series, and it's a series that I'm enjoying. Here's the book. I did like this. I thought the mystery was very clever. I thought the characters were well developed. So the main characters in the story, the main four, or the Fab Four as I like to call them, they're very well developed in this story, and we get deeper development for each of those characters, and I like that. I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact the author's finding room to show us more things about these four main characters in the story as the series progresses. Book 1, of course, is my favourite in the series. I thought that was just spot on. Everything about it was amazing. And since then, books 2 and 3, this book, haven't reached the heights of book 1. They're still very enjoyable and worth the read. But book 1 for me is the best book in the series so far. Our four main characters, our Fab Four, can't wait to get their hands on the next case. They do have one lined up, but before we go into that, let's meet the characters again. So who are they? We have Joyce, and Joyce is a very nice character. She's a widow. She is quite gentle, quite caring. But she also manipulates people in a certain way, just through her dialogue, the way she speaks to them. She asks things in a way that drives what she wants, drives people to agree to what she wants, and they don't really realise it a lot of the time. So that's one of her strengths as a character. She's also very clever. She wasn't a nurse in her profession, and so she uses some of that knowledge and skill in the book as well when they're investigating things. So Joyce is very prominent in this book and in the series in general. She's the glue, I think, sometimes that sticks everything else together. Elizabeth was working for MI5 in her profession, and she still has a lot of those skills, and she still uses them a lot and has contacts as well that she can get information and help from at different times. But one of the things I like about Elizabeth is when we have scenes with her and her husband Stephen, and Stephen's suffering from dementia. And when Elizabeth is with Stephen, we get a very human side to Elizabeth, and it makes for a great character. She feels so well rounded because of that. That human side, I think, brings so much out with Elizabeth in the books, more so than all the things about her skills about tradecraft and spycraft. Ibrahim is an ex-psychologist, and he's very ordered in his life. Everything's very structured. He likes data. He likes figures. He likes working things out. He doesn't like loose ends, and he's very gentle as a person as well, as a character in the story. He's very gentle. He's very caring as well. He just seems to be a nice person, and he just seems to go along with life. He doesn't like to go outside his comfort zone too much, but he will if the situation calls for it. So when his friends need help, he'll do that. Roy is more of a character who's very rough and ready. He likes to show a tough exterior, but he has a gentle side. And that gentle side comes out a lot when he's dealing with friends and family. And he's a character that's very loyal to his friends and family. And he kind of shines through like a knight in shining armor sometimes in the series. He has this complexity to him. And I enjoy seeing scenes with him because he comes across as very genuine in this series. He's a very genuine person who doesn't seem to have a poker face. So our Fab Four have got a new case. It's a cold case that involves the presumed death of a female newsreader. It happened a decade or so ago, and this female newsreader disappeared in very mysterious circumstances, and they never found the body. They've got a way to try to get information on this case, and they've worked out a way to get a male news presenter to come visit them at the home by giving them a story about something to do with the home. And that was Joyce's idea, and people just also assume that Joyce came up with this because she wants to meet the male newsreader, and she does. She seems to have the hots for him, and there's a few funny scenes in the book with Joyce talking to the newsreader, trying to find information about him, about his likes and things like that. So it plays in the book as well as a bit of humour. We do find a few things about the cold case quite early on. One of the big things is the newsreader who is presumed dead. She was working on a big story, a story about money laundering, and she had some sort of big scoop. She found out some sort of information that was huge, and then that night she vanished. So it's very mysterious and quite chilling. And there are two people linked to that money laundering story. One person's in prison. She's been there for about 10 years. And the other person is free. Didn't get charged, didn't get arrested or anything. So these two people are the focus for our Thursday Murder Club. While the cold case is being investigated, we have something else going on in the story. Elizabeth is kidnapped. And so is Stephen. They are walking and then they were kidnapped. And she's taken to a mysterious location. And she's been given a task. Someone's telling her that she has to kill somebody, or else somebody close to her will be killed. And she has 2 weeks to do it. I think this storyline, in some ways, outshines the cold case storyline. Even though the cold case storyline is meant to be the main investigation in the story, the storyline with Elizabeth given this task that would make her a murderer, is very intense and very powerful. And I do like this storyline in the book. I'm not going to dive into all the ins and outs of the two main storylines in the book, because I don't want to give anything away. I'll just say that both are interesting, both give us insights into our Fab Four, and both introduce different characters into the story as well. And those new characters, in some ways they're good, in some ways they're not. And in one or two of the new characters, we're given a bit of character traits that just seem over the top, just seem too irregular and too unreal. And I understand that this book can be a bit tongue-in-cheek, and so can the series. It's written that way. It's written to be humorous. But when you've got too much of it, in a very short section of the book, it becomes just too much too often. And it does ruin some of the characters for me. It does take away some of the, I guess, shine in the book. It tarnishes the book a little bit, in my view. I think one of the big themes in this book, maybe the series in general, is humanity. And it comes through in this book with Elizabeth's husband, Stephen. And he's slipping further and further into dementia. It's getting worse for him as this series progresses. And in this book, there are certain moments where it becomes very apparent that he's slipping further and further away. And we see that humanity in him, but also in characters around him. So in Elizabeth, we see her struggle with that. We see her break down about that at different times as well. And even Bogdan, and Bogdan is this tough guy, and he's become friends with Stephen and Elizabeth, and he plays chess with Stephen a lot. Bogdan also realizes Stephen's slipping away. And we see Bogdan become very emotional about that as well. And it's hard to see with Bogdan because Bogdan's meant to be this very stoic character, this tough character. He's not meant to show emotion all the time. So we got a lot of humanity in this book, I think, and it shines through and makes those characters seem so much more real. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I get the impression that the author has known somebody who's gone through dementia. Someone very close to him, I think, because when he's writing about the condition in the book, it just seems very genuine. It seems very honest, very open, and very real. So it does make me wonder if the author has known somebody who has gone through dementia. This book is a great read, but it's not as good as book one. If you want to read this series, go back to book one. Get to know the characters as the author intended. There's so much to learn about the characters from the start. And you don't get all that if you start from book 3, because this author doesn't repeat himself that much in the series. In a lot of cozy mysteries, the author will repeat certain things about the characters, so you can start maybe partway through and get to know the characters enough to enjoy the story. But I do recommend going back to book 1. I won't dive into any of the 4 main characters. I'll discuss them in other videos in this series. If you want to know what I think about those characters, you can go back and watch those videos. Let's talk about Stephen first. So Stephen is Elizabeth's husband. And Elizabeth is one of our main 4 characters, one of the Fab Four. Stephen feels so real in this book. He's a very special character. And he's special because in Elizabeth's home, in Stephen and Elizabeth's home, Stephen is a main focus. Things revolve around him in their home. And also because he has dementia, that angle with him in the book, that makes him seem very real as well. and it's written so well in the book and in the series in general. The author uses great sensitivity. The author doesn't make light of the situation so much, but also gives us a real feeling about Stephen, because Stephen's starting to suspect that something's wrong with him. He's starting to suspect that he should know things at certain times, and that comes through this book more and more. Stephen, for me, feels like a standout. He feels like somebody that I would like to know in real life. He's got something about him that makes him feel so special. Donna is a police officer, and we met Donna in book 1 in the series, and she's the main link between the Thursday Murder Club and the police force. I like her as a character. She's very strong, determined, but she's also very caring and vulnerable, and sometimes that caring and vulnerable side gets her into trouble sometimes. She's very emotional at times as well, and that just comes through in the series, but all those things about her, the strength, the determination, the fact that she's caring and vulnerable, all makes her feel so real. It's so much better, I think, getting a police officer character with all these different aspects to her or his character, because it makes them feel so real. There are so many series out there with police officers where the vulnerable side is just underdone a little bit. It's not there all the time. If it ever comes through, it comes through with them being alcoholics or things like that. It doesn't come through in a normal, healthy way. And it's good to have characters, a police officer, someone in law enforcement that has a healthy, rounded character. Chris is Donna's boss on the police force. I like Chris as a character. I like his growth all through the series. He's had such a good character growth, character development in this series. I wonder if it will last, because it all hinges on his new romance. So if that new romance goes away, what happens to Chris as a character? It'd be interesting to see that. As a reader, I don't want that to happen. I want Chris to remain happy, because he seems so much more balanced as a character when he's happy. All those little things about him, those aspects, are kind of shaping into something different. I did enjoy him before his romance in the book, but I like Chris now as a character. The Bullet That Missed is a great cozy mystery. The mystery is quite tight and quite strong. The plot, I think, seems so well planned out and thought out. The characters are still good, especially the main 4 characters, and giving us more detail about them, more personal detail, more depth in those characters is very good in the 3rd book in the series. I rate this a 4 out of 5. It is still an enjoyable series. I think people would like this series, many people. You don't have to like cozy mysteries to enjoy this series. It is a good mystery on its own if you want to read it as a standalone, but I do recommend you going back and starting from book 1. On my channel, I review many cozy mysteries. If you like cozy mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. There's also a cozy mystery playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.